becoming one of the latest Zambian-owned technology company to issue an initial public offering and list on the Lusaka Securities Exchange alternative market. The development marks a significant milestone for the country's technology sector and opens new investment opportunities for the public. Now, to help us understand this listing and what it means for the company and for the wider economy, we are joined by Dot Com Zambia Chief Executive Officer Mawano Kambeo. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the news desk.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Let's start by understanding what factors drove Dot Com Zambia to pursue a public listing on the Lusaka Securities Exchange alternative market.
Well, traditionally, when you go to the capital markets, everyone thinks that the primary goal is to raise money, and we will raise money and we will raise capital for our business. But I think for us, the driving factor is the visibility and credibility of going public, what that does. It means you are telling the general public, look at our governance structures, look at our ambition, look at our growth plans. You know, this is who we are as a company and this is where we are trying to get to. And that is a very, very positive signal. It's also about what we want to do in terms of growing from the small company that we are to one day becoming a very large company. And even in terms of our long-term ambition, if we establish credibility on the capital market, it means what we can do down the road becomes unlimited. And one of the examples that I always talk about is what if as a company down the road, we want to expand into the region? If we want to go to government, for example, and say, we are interested in doing a PPP and we need to raise 700 million. Being a public company and being on the capital markets gives you the credibility to capitalize on opportunities like that.
Now, let's talk about the company's plans. And I know you've laid that foundation in looking at a futuristic plan. But how do you plan to use the capital that will be raised from the IPO?
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to use the phrase for this particular round. It's going to help support our intermediate plans. And I think our intermediate plans is not only strengthening the core business that we have now, but it's about strengthening our intermediate business. How are we going to expand? How are we going to diversify the product lines that we are in? And I think that's something that the capital will actually help us to do. And I think for investors that look at the prospectus, it will talk that half of the capital we are raising is going into research and development and product development, which is really another way of saying we want to expand in the short term, but also to support our operations as we take on that expansion, because it means we're going to have to take on more staff. We're going to need bigger offices, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Will this listing translate into job creation and new skills? And I know you've spoken about them, yes. But there's a lot of excitement around technology and the future of the country.
Absolutely. Well, actually, this is probably, for me personally, this has probably been the best aspect of this whole process, because you asked the question, will it translate into more jobs? I can actually say it already has. It started the moment we announced that we are going to go public. And if you had come to our offices about 3-4 months ago, we're about 13 employees. Right now, we're sitting on 38. Just from the positive reaction this move has had. And these are jobs mainly, I think the biggest department we've hired in is IT and software engineering, because we are a technology company. But we've also had to build a marketing and sales team, because we're going to be public interfacing with the general public. We've had to create an investor relations department. One of the most exciting things for me personally is our executive team has grown bigger. We've added a chief technology officer, and we've also added a chief financial and operating officer. So just in this short time frame, we've already seen job creation already happen, and we're just getting started. And I think for me as an entrepreneur, that is always probably the thing that probably brings you the greatest amount of joy, because the energy, the buzz we have around the organization, the positive accolades we're getting from the public around doing this, and what it can do for the broader entrepreneurship community, because Dot Com Zambia was a company that I started back in 2006 as a younger man than I am now. And to grow to the size that we have, we're already seeing all of those positive developments take place.
We will continue to follow the success story. Thank you so much, Mr. Kambeo.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Mawano Kambeo, CEO, Dot Com Zambia, just talking to us about initial public offering and list on the Lusaka Securities Exchange.